Honestly, I'm not sure about what's the point today. I just know I have something to say for the girls, so we'll figure it out together. We'll see how my thought process go. But to begin with, there's something I realized lately checking videos about these topics, about confidence and self-esteem and all of that. And is that most people will tell you that in order to gain confidence and become, a confident person, a hot person, you have to be delusional. And even though I do agree that it plays a big role on this, for me, it wasn't what helped me to gain self esteem. Because, yes, a lot of people come here and see a pretty girl talking, not only me, but online, and they assume, oh, it's easy to be confident when you look that way, or when you have this, or that. First of all, beauty is subjective. And keeping that in mind, I didn't consider myself pretty for most of my life, actually. I'm just 21, and I spent perfectly 10 or 12 years of my life thinking I was ugly, I was disgusting, I was annoying, and just too much. That's the way I saw myself, as disgusting and too much. What helped me change that perspective over myself wasn't delusion, wasn't convincing myself I'm hot, even though it did help in the long run. And now I realize because most changes I've done happened organically, actually. Like, I had my mind set that I needed to change or become better in this area, and I just figured things out in the long run. But what I did was treating myself like someone I love, like taking care of myself the way that I would with someone I love. For example, making sure I eat and that I'm getting nutritious food in my body, but also having balance. I also valued my emotions. I started to see them as something that matters because before nobody treated them like they mattered, and that's why I started to shrink, keeping everything to myself. But once I started to sit there with my emotions and say, okay, I feel sad, I feel angry, I feel this way because of that, and this is not ridiculous, I deserve to feel it and then let it go, it did help me a lot because now I have a healthy relationship with my emotions, and believe it or not, that helps with confidence. Mental health has a lot to do with confidence. And I also took care of the way that I look. I always try to put myself together in a way that makes me feel confident. For example, I love curls, right? I'm wearing curls right now. And they make me feel confident. I also like wearing certain colors because I feel like they enhance my features, even though technically red isn't one of my colors, but I wear it anyway because I like it and it makes me feel good. The thing is, once I started to treat myself like I mattered, I started to see value in myself. And if you don't value yourself and treat yourself like I'm important, it's hard to gain confidence because you think, oh, I'm so ugly. Why somebody would look at me or treat me with this kind of respect or this kind of care? But once you start doing it, you realize, oh, hey, but I'm doing all this for myself. I would do it for another person. So I do deserve love. I do deserve respect. Does that make sense? I hope so, because it helped me a lot. As I said, beauty is subjective. Obviously, there are people who are conventionally attractive. I don't think I am because to me, conventional features are like a princess nose or having this body type. I don't think I'm conventionally attractive, but I like myself. And that's another thing. Because confidence comes, as I said, with delusion, right? But I would say it comes with arrogance. But not the kind that makes other people inferior, but the kind that happens inside your head. I'm a person who if you got inside my head and you saw my thoughts, you would think, this bitch is crazy. How does she have this level of self esteem? Why does she think the world goes around her, revolves around her? Because in my head, I believe it does. It's my world. And obviously, I have a logical mind too. I know that not everything's about me. I know that there are a lot of people who are better than me in some areas, but I know I'm great in other areas too. And I know I have a lot to say. I know I can be a very caring and loving person. I know I'm pretty now. I'm not ashamed of admitting those things. I'm not ashamed of recognizing them. And I think that sometimes we fear recognizing our value because we think we blah 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 blah. We become egotistic. Baby, honey, you're not egotistic for just seeing that you're important and that you have a lot to give. And it actually helps you to build boundaries too. Because when you recognize your value and what you can give, the kind of person you are, you deserve people in your space who give you the same and who treat you with the same value that you treat them, with the same respect and same care and same love. And if someone is not giving you that, they don't deserve to be in your life. They don't deserve to be in your space because they are going to ruin it. Especially if you're in the middle of the process, they are going to make you doubt yourself. Or I do think that nobody feels confident every day. So in those days where you don't feel confident enough, you don't need negative energy anyway. You don't need people bringing you down. So sorry. I'm talking too fast, but it's because there's a lot going on inside my head right now. That's why you have to... I believe in cutting people off, even if you love them. You have to love yourself more. You have to be your priority. And there's a lot of people who think poorly of me when I say that, but that's because I believe that when you're in a good place mentally, physically, and spiritually, if you believe in that, then you have a lot. Your glass is full. So you can give a lot to the world, to others, without being drained and left with nothing. And that's a healthy way of taking care of the people you love and yourself as well. That's my way of seeing it. That's why I believe you have to prioritize your well-being, your feelings, and your stability. And if that means you have to cut people off, family even, do it. I cut someone of my family off. I barely talk to my family in general, and that helped my mental health a lot. That's why I have these perceptions, because, for example, I grew up surrounded by women, right? And one thing they all had in common was the lack of self-esteem. I'm not trying to be rude or anything, I'm just talking facts. That's how most women around me thought. They thought poorly about themselves. And that reflected on the way that they dressed, how they treated themselves, and even the kind of relationships they got into. I had all of that normalized because I saw it from a pretty young age, and I think that happens a lot among us women. We tend to compare ourselves to each other. We tend to talk poorly about ourselves and accept poor treatment, especially from guys, when we don't love ourselves enough and when we are blinded by love too. The thing is that when I pulled myself from that environment and I stopped interacting with most of these women, I started to see how unhealthy that was, and I was finally able to shift my own mentality because I didn't have them around. And now when I interact with them and they start like engaging in these kind of conversations, I leave. I literally leave or just don't listen. And as I said, some people might think of this as rude or like arrogant or I don't know. But at this point, I don't care if people perceive me as arrogant because I know the right people for me will not see me that way. Now, about confidence not being loud. Right now I'm being loud about my confidence because I have a point, right? I'm making a video and talking about all this. But normally you're not gonna see me around people saying something like, I'm so gorgeous, I'm so amazing, and I deserve people who treat me that way because I'm so amazing and I'm such a catch. No, I think those things and I believe them, but I'm not gonna say them around because I have no need. Confidence is not loud. Confidence reflects on your actions, how you carry yourself around, how you present yourself, how you treat others, how you react to disrespect, and also what you accept into your life. For example, let me give you a personal example when it comes to relationships. This was when I was 17, maybe, and after this situation, the spark in my head of confidence started to turn on a little. I had this boyfriend, right? That was my first and last serious relationship, actually. And I wouldn't be able to tell you why I liked him, but I did, and we dated. And one thing about me is that I'm a yapper, right? And especially when I trust someone, I enjoy sharing my thoughts, my hobbies, what I'm doing, and I want people who cares about that. because I care. If you're telling me, I did this today, I met this cat, what's the name of the cat? Where did you meet this cat? And it sounds like a toxic girlfriend, but it's just because I care about details and I care about what people tell me. So I want others who do the same. And this boyfriend, I remember telling him about books I was reading, and I remember telling him, oh, she poisoned both cups because that way the other guy wouldn't be able to tell which one was poisoned, and she drank it and fought anyway. And I was so excited. And the next day I told him, remember the book I told you about yesterday, the one where she poisoned both cups? And he was like, what? What book? And listen, to be fair, he was 19 at the time, and that still makes him somewhat of a teenage boy, and teenagers don't have a very good memory. But listen, if I care about you enough, I'm going to write things down in my notes app, so that way I will be able to remember them because I know they are important to you. I make an effort for friends and partners. So if you're not going to reciprocate, you don't need to be in my life. I did address this with him like 3 times. I wasn't going to do it a 4th time, so I broke up with him. That was the first time I had some sort of self-respect. Before, no, I didn't. But now I would do the same because I know what I can give and I know what I deserve because I have proved to myself that I matter and I'm valuable, so I'm not going to accept less. There's people who might believe I was being dramatic back then, or that I was asking for too much, that I ask for too much, that I am too much and insufferable. But honestly, I don't believe you can ask for too much. I believe you're just asking the wrong person. If there's people who make you feel like you're too much, that means they're trying to make you feel less so you can fit their standards or their boxes. So you're easy to chew. But you don't need to be easy to chew because you're not meant for everyone. You need to build meaningful connections. And if that requires being selective with people and just staying loyal to yourself, not changing for others unless you're hurting them, then so be it. That's not wrong. That's not asking for too much. That's not believing you're better than others or that people don't matter. It's just having standards and confidence, self-respect, and preferences. If other people can want a blonde girl who's skinny or a guy who's ripped, why can't you ask for, I don't know, a black-haired man who treats you like you're his world? Or a bestie who hypes you up every single day and treats you better than any man? Why can't you ask for those things? I believe you're not asking for too much if you can reciprocate, if you can deliver the same thing you're asking, and I do that. Because otherwise, why would I be asking something I cannot give? It's stupid. I choose to become the person I would have loved to have when I was a kid. That also implies I became the friend that I would like to have and the girlfriend I would like to be. And if I can give those things and I see myself giving all of that without a struggle, then I deserve the same and you do too. I think I'm repeating myself at this point. So to summarize everything I said, the verbal vomit, in my experience, the best way to develop self-love and confidence is by starting to treat yourself like someone you love, with the same care and appreciation. Once you start seeing your value through that, that's when you become delusional inside your own head, fully believing you're a divine blessing and a wonderful woman because you are. If you're here, you are. But obviously, don't involve other people in it. You don't need to make yourself feel better through making others less through words or thoughts. You're not better than anyone else. Unless they're bad people. Because in that case, you are. But anyway, even if you believe you're a goddess, you don't need to be vocal about it because, again, confidence is not loud. It reflects on your actions, and actions do speak louder than words. This doesn't make you too much. It makes you confident and self-aware. And if others try to make you believe otherwise, cut them off. Even though realistically, there will always be someone who's better than you in some areas and someone who's worse than you, it's not wrong to think, highly of yourself. You don't need to be more humble or ignore your value out of fear of being egotistic or not being accepted. If they can't chew you, let them choke and find people who actually enjoy your taste without complaints. And that's all I have to say today, I think. It was something, it was messy, but that's nothing new with my videos. It is not. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful weekend because I think I'm posting this tomorrow, Friday or Saturday. I don't know. One of those 2 days. Don't forget to subscribe, to leave a like, to leave a comment telling me your thoughts, your feelings, and don't forget to follow me on social media too. I have Instagram and TikTok. By this point, I probably posted my first TikTok in like a year, so I hope you go and watch it. It's about my nails because I got a fresh set and it's wonderful. I'm obsessed. I feel like a mermaid and I love it. But I'm going to have some oats and drink some tea to finish my day. So, yeah. Love ya. Bye bye. See you soon. See you next week. I'm being consistent, so see you next week.